My third area was in the second city, which was San Jorge, and it's technically in Asuncion. It's part of what Asuncion is. It's part of the Asuncion North stake. So when I first got called there and I was told it was in Asuncion, I thought it was going to be nicer. I had this vision where it was like, oh, it's going to be like the city. It's going to be roads and streets. I've been in Asuncion and it's really nice. Little did I know that Asuncion also has outskirts, which is places like San Jorge, Ceballos Cue, Loma Puta, Trinidad. So these are all outskirt towns of Asuncion that I didn't know existed. So my area itself actually was really poor because it was by the river, by the Rio Paraguay. So every single area, I think, if you're close to the river, it's gonna be really like poor, or it's gonna be really like not the nicest place. And I think that was my first area, was a little bit more dangerous. We couldn't be by the river at night. Members started telling us about rumors coming out that they started selling drugs. So there was a lot of more sketchy people around. So at night, we try to go back closer to where the main street was instead of being by the river. I remember that. It also floods a lot. So Asuncion is actually known to flood because of the river being so close. So when it rains, Paraguay doesn't have a drainage system. So there's no like, there's no sewage. There's no, like, the water doesn't go anywhere but stay on the street. So what happens when it rains in Asuncion, all the water runs down and the river comes up. So all the houses are flooded. There was points on during that time where half my area was underwater and we couldn't go close because, one, everyone would have left anyway to go to refugee houses, or we just couldn't go because it was flooded. So that's something really interesting about Asuncion, is that you would think it's really nice, but there's actually a lot of refugee settlements there because of all the flooding. There's people who have their house and they have their refugee house. So they actually own two, and it's like, this one's for when it floods, and this is like my normal like house. This is where I usually live. So instead of people just moving away, they keep both of them. So that's Asuncion. Well, San Jorge itself, a lot of the people, because they're so close to Asuncion, work in Asuncion, or they work in Mariano, which is the city literally right next door to where my area was. My area was cut right in half, so some of it was in Mariano, and some of it was in Asuncion. So they would work in the supermarkets again. So the people who would work a little bit more high end would be either working in supermarkets or banks. And the people who had other types of jobs would go straight into Asuncion and work in places like hair salons or the mall and places like that. So because of how close it was, that's where most people went. The main road also has a lot of the major buses or colectivos that take you about anywhere. The Trans Chaco is like right there. So really, you could go anywhere. Even the big double-decker buses, they take you to the interior or to the internal part of the country, pass by through there too. So it's a very, very like busy street. So that was really interesting as well. It was also really convenient for a lot of things, just being able to get around on P-Day, or if you had to go to the mission office for any possible reason. It was, I think, like 20 minutes away. Just walk to the 16.2 and you take it 20 minutes to the mission office. I think one interesting fact actually about San Jorge is the fact that San Jorge doesn't have a chapel. We have to go to the Loma Puta chapel, which is a 30 to 35-minute walk from where we lived, and we lived closer. So San Jorge is actually a really weird area, I think, because it was composed of three. So they took places from Loma, Mariano, and Ceballos, and they put them together to create this ward. But it was called San Jorge because it was called, like, that was like the name of like the vicinity, the borough, or whatever that was called. So it made it really hard because a lot of people lived closer to the other chapel, actually, the one in Ceballos Cue. And so attendance for church was really rough. It was really rough to try and get them to come to church because a lot of them lived close to the river, and so they were poor. So getting to the main street was already a hassle walking. And there was even a place that my companion called Alice in Wonderland because it was right next to this water factory where they put all the water into like the big jugs, and literally it looked like it had just caved under and all the vegetation had just grown on top. So when we were walking down, it was almost walking down like a 90-degree angle because it was just straight, and we would try not to slip. And as soon as you got down there, there was a little stream that would go through the middle of that neighborhood with all of, like the big banana leaves on top of you. So my companion called it Alice in Wonderland. So that was really funny, but it was like really interesting because of the water erosion and like of the flooding that it just brought down this whole thing. So San Jorge was really interesting. I think it was a very interesting area for me because I definitely did not expect it when they told me I was going to Asuncion.